Пенко.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrey Pilipenko, and I'm really sorry. I will make my presentation in Russian, and it is about the new technologies. And чем English Surya, English Surya, and it is about the business.
Ну, не секрет, что я выступаю со...
I make my presentation from the party of the vendor, and as we are working on some of the financial problems, they require the access to this, and as we need also to take into account the requirements of the vendors. These systems must be the steady as well as the proved against the catastrophes and calamities, and with the zero acceptance with RTO and FO. With regard of the functioning of the equipment, with regard of the functioning of the attachments, as well as the introduction of the cluster technologies and the distribution of the cluster technologies with regard of the tasks and the aims. In order to develop the objectives, first of all, we have to think what kind of the effects we are going to use in our operational systems at the level of the equipment, as well as at the level of the data, the saving. The Hitachi, the data system, is providing with the global active device, which is providing the possibility to have the critical regime, the effective, and also the territorial distribution of them in order to reduce the risks with regard of the equipment failure, as well as the sites in general. What kind of directions we actually are working now? And these are the main directions of Hitachi. First of all, we actually pay attention to the for the new systems for saving. This is the HPGS 1000. First of all, this is the non-stop delivery of the data, as well as the continuous delivery, and also the extensibility and the streamlining of our resources. In addition to the traditional ways of the saving of the data system, we also have the unified access to the protocols, to the files, etc. And we have it in this kind of power. We also propose the storage, the virtualization operating system, as well as the virtual storage platform G1000, and the command, the suite VA. And in fact, it is the maybe not a system, but the storage, and a very new system. This is Hitachi Command Suite, the version number 8. With regard of the devices, that this is the new two controllers, through controller cupboards or frames, where you can also add the e-discs as well as the two frames. All in all, in combination, the six frames in general. Here we have the unified access to the data. Therefore, we can turn on here the 8 file modules, which are combined in a clusters. Therefore, the access to the data can be exercised through the files as well as through the protocol. If we look through the quantitative system here, it has the very high productivity, the system, as well as quite a high volume, up to 2 gigabyte, and it can be scaled down to the 4 petabyte and 250 petabyte. plus the virtualization of the outside safeguards. As I have already mentioned before, one of the directions of the Hitachi, it was the simplified data center planning and also more flexible resolution of the requirements of the vendor. All the previous systems had to maintain their the monolithical stance, but at the same time, the system saving at the request of the vendor also shall be in a distance of 100 meters. By the end of the year, we will have the support and facilitation from this system from the controlling frames as well as of the other capacities on the distance of 120 meters. And these novelties touched upon not only the equipment but also the
functionalities of the system. And this is the concept as virtuous machines, which enables us to distribute the resources between various physical systems of the data storage, and allows us to manage them in uniform mode. So one of the means to use this functionality is to widen the disk space on the side of the customer and to balance the load. For the storage system. So the expanding of the disk volume is done online without affecting the efficiency. And so it is done in an automated way, and if one of the system and there is control of one of the system exceeds 70%, then automatically the migration of owns from more loaded to less loaded space, and so there is no stoppage and no delays. Another means is using this functionality for the continuity of migration. So migration of data, especially business critical data, is quite intensive work. It's necessary to have the plan for migration. It's necessary to take into consideration all the risks for the which might take place during the migration, and thus the process can take quite long. Video storage machine with this functionality, it can take place online without affecting on the efficiency of the access, and the data can migrate from one storage to another. At the same time, as I've already mentioned, the processing of data processing is not interrupted, and everything is done in a transparent way. And the most important thing for the functionality also is using of the global virtualization for the data storage, which enables to make them, this data, to be resistant to catastrophic, calamity resistant. What is global active device? This is the synchron simultaneous device of the regime active, and HASTI might be switched to the number of HD, and Hitachi or multiplexing devices provided by the system. The host, so actually, despite the fact that different storages might be used here, so territorially they're located in different places, but these are called audio IDs. Well, these are the internal addresses of the places of the addresses, and then the complex of device. So this is the mirroring, and the integrity is provided for. So mirroring of data also allows for the high accessibility and availability of the data. And on the level, at the level of the servers, cluster PO can be applied for the operational level and also for the appendix systems. Without that, we cannot really promptly respond to certain events which might take place in the database storage systems and managing of the data. Therefore, we recommend to utilize cluster decisions for the management system. And Hitachi Common Suite also actually facilitates the territorially allocated clusters. So these are the events, negative, when, in which adverse cases there could be, the system can be positively applied. This is the refusal or failure of the primary or secondary site, when the quorum massives are allocated, when there is the disintegration of links. So almost in all the adverse situations, the system can allow a continuity of the work. So this realization of this system might be into under three conditions, in three modes. So when all the massives are different on the different platforms, primaries on the primary, secondary, and quorum on the third field or third platform. Also, when else it can be used, when there are two platforms, or when the quorum massive and primary storage are on one side, and secondary massive is in the reserve platform, and or when all three of them is within the same sod. So this decision actually it works for the distances up to 100 kilometers, and so this massive, the first massive, cannot be just Hitachi massive, but it can be produced by any other producer. So this Hitachi Common Suite version 8 can be applied in all the above-mentioned cases. So it allows the management of all the infrastructure, of the data management from one spot. And this is a unified system for the data management, supporting the virtualization and protection. And from Hitachi Common Suite, you can manage not only for the Hitachi devices, but also for the other vendors' devices. In addition, Hitachi Common Suite might be used for, maybe I'm opening a new secret, but Hitachi produces not only the storage systems for data, but also some other devices and decisions as well. And so all this can be managed from one spot. What are the innovations related to Hitachi Common Suite? This year I've already mentioned that. So this is the, we also have the support for this new storage system. So this is more expanded functionality for managing the files, the access to the data. This is also support to the in certain clusters and supportive installation of certain architectures. As I've already mentioned, interfaces of Hitachi Common Suite can be managed, and can be virtual storage machine, and also graphic interface for application couples or pairs for global activity devices, which was only possible for Right Manager interface command strikes. In addition to the functionality of global active device, Hitachi also produces and provides services for realization of services for customers. This is consulting services for identifying the optimum architectural decisions, also to provide the relevant infrastructure for the customer, tuning, replicating pairs, and also developing of the relevant documents. And this decision is already certified and on our site you can see the best practices for realization of these decisions. And in the end, I would like to say that company Hitachi, as I've already mentioned, produces not just the storage systems, but we also have quite a number of complex solutions for Microsoft Hyper and Squale, for the TP, local and business analytical programs utilizing SAP HANA. And so all these solutions are certified by vendors of the logistics, and there are also solutions for storing of non-structured data. And if anyone is interested in our solutions in these directions, I'm prepared to answer, in more details, your questions. Thank you.